Hi, I'm Ernie Zore, and this is the 65th video in Puritas Springs Software's FAQ series. By the way, if you have questions about how the FAQ numbers are assigned to our videos, just forget about it, because someday they're going to all fall into place, and when they do, you'll be as pleasantly surprised as Larry and I.
It's going to take ChatGPT to sort those out.
Yeah, right. We'll feed it in there.
The last few videos, actually, all the videos that we've done have been very technically focused. You know, they revolved around legal topics, but mostly we were concentrating on ChatGPT techniques. And I really like this idea of taking a turn more toward the legal world and going over some of the cases that ChatGPT is involved with. Specifically, the Silverman case. I know you've taken some time to learn some more about it, but we've both always been interested in that case. It was one of the first ones.
Right. Business of asking for injunctions, it makes the case even more important, not from a compensation standpoint, but from the standpoint that, gee, what's going to happen? Are they going to say, ChatGPT can't use the training database like that? It could spell the end of the program, I suppose, in the worst case scenario.
I actually didn't realize that there was injunctions involved in the case. I thought it was just about money. I noticed it was for $999 million.
Yes, it makes me suspect that in that jurisdiction there was a $10 million limit or something.
Right? I thought that was a funny number as well. But needless, going back to what I was saying, the Silverman case was basically the first high-profile case. It was right at the beginning, or maybe by beginning, 180 million users were on ChatGPT by then.
I think, Larry, that's like a historical first. It was released in November of 2022, and by the time Sarah Silverman filed her lawsuit, it probably had about 180 million users.
Yeah. Not
even a year old. So, hey, people recognize that sort of groundbreaking or revolutionary or evolutionary software, and
yeah,
ChatGPT is it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I know I was probably on it shortly after it came out. Pretty quickly I started hearing a little bit about it and hopped on it, and like many people, were pretty stunned by the wealth of knowledge available.
Well, those are good reasons for following the OpenAI cases, but I'm interested mostly in Sarah Silverman's case for a few reasons. One is because she's a personal favorite of mine.
So you could never be a judge in this case based on your personal bias, I assume.
That's absolutely true, because in my mind, I'd be thinking, okay, yeah, whatever Sarah wants.
Yeah.
And
I understand that. I can definitely get behind that, actually. She's always been one of my favorite entertainers.
Right.
But I did not read her book, and still haven't even read ChatGPT's summary.
No, neither have I.
So,
although I skimmed the summary, and the summaries were, wow. Okay, we'll get into that maybe later.
Before we get into that, why don't you look through the complaint, right? Can you ChatGPT summarize it for us?
Probably not as well as Chat could, but it reminded me of a law school question where they ask you maybe a procedural question, and then you're supposed to throw back every conceivable claim.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what Silverman's complaint was. So they had, claim for unjust enrichment instead of just being copyright infringement. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. A good attorney does that, of course. But they had claims for unjust enrichment, the digital rights violations, and gee, I'm thinking they had close to a half dozen or a dozen claims.
Yeah, I know. I saw all those listed in there. I didn't read it with as much depth as you did, but I did try to summarize it on ChatGPT when you first sent it over to me, and it showed me like 7 or 8 of those claims. So.
Well, one of the things, Larry, that I noticed when I was looking at the complaint, what's kind of unique about it is that Sarah's book, you can't really ask Chat and say, well, give me a copy of Sarah's book. You couldn't even say, give me a copy of chapter number 2. You couldn't even ask for a page out of the book. It will not return anything about Sarah's book. Oh, no, wait, I overstated that one. It will tell you about the book, but it will never give you a copy of the book. So the claim that she filed has an exhibit, and when you look over the exhibit, you look at it and think, wow, yeah, they asked for a detailed summary, the plaintiff did, and that's exactly what they got, with an emphasis on the word detail.
Yeah.
I mean, this is more than just an ordinary, like maybe a book review like you would find in the New York Times or something like that. This is really an extensive, detailed
Yeah, I heard
summary.
somebody was writing about it, and they compared it to Enhance. You know, when you watch the old CSI shows, where they're like, "Hey, enhance that," and they zoom in.
Oh,
more.
okay, yeah,
They
right.
said the detail question was kind of like doing that. You're like enhance, and so
Right.
ChatGPT was like, "All right, well, here's everything I know about it."
And in fact, that's how plaintiff Sarah uses kind of like as a proof. She's saying that the summary is so detailed that you couldn't prepare a summary like that
Without having
access to the whole book.
Okay.
I don't even think that's an issue. I think she's alleging that her entire book is part of the training data set. Not really sure OpenAI is denying it.
Well, and to your point, what's really going to be interesting about this case as it moves forward is how much can they pressure OpenAI to disclose? You know, what becomes, the Coke flavor, their property, their intellectual property that they can't afford, that they can prove they have to keep secret. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, that's, the substance of Sarah's claim is that her entire book was put into the training data set, 1, without her permission,
Right.
2, without any compensation, and 3, without even crediting her as an author of the book.
So I'm wondering, in that situation with OpenAI, they haven't been very forthcoming about how they crawled the internet for all this data before people even knew they were doing it. And second, from OpenAI's side of it, so somebody bought her book, I don't know, made a PDF and put it up on the internet for everybody to see, and ChatGPT ran across it while it was crawling through some data and read it.
Well,
read that whole book in 2 seconds.
They've got a funny way, Larry. The way I understand it is that there are files out there available, and one of them I think they called Book A or something like that, and this file had 30,000 books in it. Then, I don't know, for the next version, they got another, I don't know if they create the files or find them or whatever, but there was a file number 2, and that had, I think, 100,000 books in it.
Yeah.
So between the two files, there's 130,000 books, and that's part of what Sarah's complaint is about.
But her book wasn't on that list.
No, they are alleging that her book was in a third one that came out with ChatGPT 3.5 or 3, and they're saying that her book was in there along with 250,000 other copyrighted materials.
Let's see some evidence of that. Just because 2 other lists exist, there must be a third?
Yeah, well, I think OpenAI admits to it, but they don't say what the contents of the actual files were.
Okay.
You know what? I might even be wrong about that, because I think they had to infer by the size of the file where the file came from. That was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, but Sarah, it's all, I guess, what do we call it? Well, it's all circumstantial evidence, really.
Yeah, and really, at the end of the day, like you said, OpenAI is going to be like, look, what are you trying to undercut the existence of a large language model because it might run across something you made?
Right.
And to your point, it's not replicating it. It's not emailing everybody a copy of her book.
That would seem to be a weakness in Sarah's case. But just we're almost to the point now where the next thing that happened in Sarah's case was that defendant OpenAI filed a motion to dismiss. And if I had to summarize the motion to dismiss in just a few words, I'd say it's a house cleaning motion. It's really directed at everything almost except the copyright infringement.
Okay.
They want to clear out all the law school stuff and get down to the meat and potatoes of it, and that's where they're headed with that.
Okay. Well, hopefully they'll get it, and they're going to rule on that. Is that what we're waiting on? Because I know then they filed response to the motion to dismiss, and then there was a response to the response.
That's right, and that I think that takes us right up to where we are right now in time, anyway, because the last motion was, what did you say, October 17th, maybe?
Yeah, that was a scheduling motion, but it was like within the last.
Yeah, okay, maybe it was
4
October
weeks.
11th. It sticks in my mind for some reason, and essentially, if we were going to summarize this, we might say the defense is going to be on the copyright infringement claim. The defense is going to be what they call fair use, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's right. We had talked about that before, and I think that's a legitimate use of that defense, and I think it's going to work, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't think you can look it up on DraftKings, but if I did, I would take OpenAI.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Point.
Speaking of DraftKings, I got to visit there.
Oh, why are we giving away free ads on the podcast?
Yeah, right.
Better send them an invoice.
Basically, I guess the real question is, although OpenAI isn't specifically admitting it, as far as I can tell, the facts are agreed to. The real issue is making Sarah's book part of the training data set an infringement of her copyright.
It's really interesting.
Well, that puts us up to date, I guess.
I'm telling you, this is gonna be a very interesting case to follow, and we will be following it.
Sure.
As it updates, because we're gonna learn a lot about it. I mean, the data set information on its own will be really interesting. OpenAI has, I think you said 350,000 titles?
That's not what I said, but that's what I was trying to say. I was kind of quoting the figures from memory, and there you go. My memory's not that good. I'm taking medication for it, though, and so in the next video, I'm going to be much better at quoting things.
Memory medication.
Yeah, sometimes I forget to take it. That's the problem, but... Anyway, all right. Well, anyway.
All right. Well, it's something to consider when you're talking about these huge training data sets, its ability to read a book like Sarah's in 20 seconds, and, whether or not she's owed any money for that. I would argue no.
Yeah, no.
Because they're not using the book itself.
That was my gut reaction. Basically was, no, yeah, right, you can't squash the whole technology. If each one of these 350,000 authors wanted to be paid for their 1 in 350,000th piece participation in the data set, and it's just there's no practical solution to that.
If I become enamored with some online influencer, some self-help guru, and I read all their books and memorize everything they say, and then somebody comes up to me and says, hey, what do you think of this guy? What is his story? And I break down a very detailed analysis of his self-help regimen. Do I owe money now?
Well, one of the things...
If they paid me $5 for that?
One of the things that they say is just being part of the data set is actually like free advertising.
Yeah, there you go, right.
Otherwise, yeah, there would be nothing about Sarah's book. If you asked for a summary of it or information about it, it would draw a blank.
And she's probably selling more books just by bringing this lawsuit, because I wouldn't have known she wrote a book.
Possibly. I think I'm going to buy her book.
Well, then she's getting exactly what you wanted.
I'm thinking that somehow they're going to work this out.
Yeah, I think so.
And now that we've got that out of the way, I do have an idea how the whole situation can be solved.
Okay. Let me guess. Would this be... Okay.
You're right, Larry. Darn it. Boy, did you nail it. It could be.
It could be.
But that was a good idea. I know where you were going with that. You're going to say, hey, wasn't there a dispute between the synthesizer manufacturers
Yes.
and the musicians union, and they were complaining about the use of synthesized violins on records and my answer to you, Larry, in short, would be no. That was a good guess, but we've got to go back even farther to find the solution that I have in mind.
So this is before even my time?
Oh, yeah. It's before my time, too, Larry.
Oh.
And I'm thinking of the 1920s commercial radio when it was the new technology, and almost immediately composers filed suit against radio stations asking for injunctive relief. And their claim was essentially, everything that they made, all the money that they made before radio was made on the sale of records and sheet music. And their argument was, hey, once you can play our records on the radio, how are we going to sell records anymore?
Yeah, and they're also looking at it like, this is my income. You're coming after how I make money.
Exactly.
So I see what you're saying, and I'm assuming you went to your law library and researched a bunch of the old cases related to that.
Okay, that was called a pregnant pause. And now I must thank you, Larry, for calling attention to the fact that I did not do my homework. Oops.
Oh.
Yeah, all right. And that's okay, because I'm not familiar with the court papers anyway. I do know how it all turned out.
Okay, well, that's really what we need to know, isn't it?
Right. And basically it's those two words, or what do they call them? Anagrams? Whatever.
Yeah.
That you see on... Well,
acronyms.
that you see on... Right. Okay, acronym. And you used to see them on records. Right on every record label had those on there. Mm-hmm. Now, do you see them anymore? And what I'm talking about is BMI and ASCAP. And that was the solution between the composers and authors and the radio stations who wanted to play that music. And consequently, these guilds arose, BMI and ASCAP, and they evolved a system that's still in use today, 100 years later, where radio stations pay guilds a fee, and then the guilds distribute the proceeds to the various artists in the form of royalties. And I was thinking, they need to come up with something like that. That's pretty simple stuff. And it's very similar. It's not exactly the same set of circumstances, but there sure are a lot of similarities.
That's really interesting. And in fact, maybe they are due a certain small percentage. Maybe Sarah Silverman can have, 1/18th of a cent for every time they use something from her data set to answer a question.
Sure.
Might add up.
Yeah, right. They already do things like that, similar to that, like with, I think when Google ads and things like that, they pay per click, and there's got to be a way.
Well, we want to stay away from advertising, though. That's the thing. But I suppose it's inevitable that it's going to get involved. But your point about these guilds showing up and kind of doing the negotiation with the large language model companies so that they can get their information into their language models. If that opens up the possibility of getting better and more information into these language models, I'm all for it.
I agree.
I don't know if Sarah Silverman writing about wetting her bed is at that level, but to each his own.
Yeah, that's true. After all, it's a huge pie to cut up.
Yeah.
And all the involved parties have that as an incentive. Chat is useless without the data set of books. And Sarah, well, she gets nothing from not having her book in the data set. So I think it really could be a win-win.
Yeah. Again, I just go back to this case. It's going to be really interesting because we're going to learn a lot about their data set. You're going to be able to force them to pry open some of that.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Are they going to trade secret at the...
Yeah. I would guess some of it's trade secret, but not whether or not her book's in it. I would guess it probably happened by accident. Anyway.
Well, if the whole data set is made primarily from 3 mega files, that doesn't seem that hard to cough up in terms of...
right. Yeah. Show it. And
if it's not protected in some way.
They didn't dismiss the copyright case because I think they feel like they can win it.
You know what? I think 2 of these mega book files are public record.
Yeah.
Because Bing uses them.
Mm.
And I think Google uses them too.
Before we finish up,
yeah,
the tech in me really wants to show a quick trick that I did when we were working on this case.
Well, that sounds like a good thing.
In ChatGPT. So, are you going to take the helm and drive through this?
You know what? No.
Are you
no,
sure?
I'm going to move off. I'm going to let you sit down.
Are you going to make me write?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, you don't have to write.
I'm not the world's best speller is all. And I've never had to learn because the computer always did it for me.
Oh, why? Do you got to do typing?
Just a little bit. It's fine.
All right.
So this is the court docket that you and I have been going through.
Okay, so just to clarify, that's the docket. Larry and I were talking about the complaint and the motion for dismissal and that kind of stuff. The docket is like a synopsis or a table of contents for all the pleadings in the file. So that's what Larry's got on his screen right now.
This is, they got a lot of lawyers involved. There's a lot of money involved here. But if we get through all these counselors and get down here, now we see the entries to the docket. And this is where we pulled that information you were just talking about.
Okay, right. Yeah, there you see that number one document. That's what started it all.
Back on July 7th.
That's the complaint.
Right. And then you go through and you can see. So a lot of stuff going on here. You and I have been talking about it. So I came in here the other day and I was like, all right, I got to get up to date on this case. I grabbed it like this, right? Because I love to cut and paste into ChatGPT.
That's good, Larry.
That's my favorite thing to do, is to figure out things that I can cut and paste into ChatGPT. I mean, you can upload documents, and that works okay, but if you can fit it into the prompt window, that's the way to go. It's
I think we talked about this before, but we don't know really what the
limit
is, right?
Yeah, because they speak. It's like euros or something. It's some other value. They talk about tokens.
Tokens, right?
Like 6,000 tokens, which. Is that a word? No, it depends. Is the word long or short?
Yeah,
or is it within a sentence that it's usually used in, or whatever? So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to start up a new chat. And I'm just for everybody following along, you need the paid version because I'm using ChatGPT 4. You could probably do this in 3, but I'm so
3, if you're going to paste, right? So 3 will do pasting,
Yeah, let's see if it does a good job.
I don't want to throw it. Okay. I didn't want to goof us up, though.
Yeah.
Because you've already tried it in 4, but I think it'll work in 3.
Yeah, I think it'll work, too. So, because it's a pretty simple request. The following data is from the Sorry, I won't count out my entire. I won't speak this whole thing as I clumsily type it.
That's okay.
The entries.
Do you talk when you read?
I do, and I think that makes me a slow reader, right? Isn't that what they say? The entries are dated with a description. Right? Oh, look at that. Not too bad.
Okay.
Please give me a simple chronological summary. Knew I was going to get chronological wrong. I was in a hurry. Give me a simple chronological summary of what has happened. Okay, so far. All right.
All right.
So that's my prompt. And then I'm going to shift return so I can skip a couple of spaces. Because if you just hit return, it'll send it, and then it'll say, okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, shift return.
And so now I'm just going to paste it in, right? So Control-V, there's all that stuff from the docket. I just pasted it in as a raw text, and then I'll hit send. So now it's going to read through this, and I assume generate me a nice little chronological summary.
Is it already done? Oh, no.
And it's going through. So... yeah.
This is by paragraph,
yeah,
maybe?
So this is each docket, basically. I didn't necessarily want it. Well, let's try it in 4, because in 4, it gave me a nice, 3-paragraph explanation, too.
Oh.
So what I'll do is I'll just copy this, and then we'll dump it into 4 and see what 4
Yes,
does.
you'll have to start a new chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to start a new chat if you need any features or anything from...
Hey, you probably could have just hit the clipboard and got it all in the copy.
Oh, yeah, but I wanted my prompt. Oh, you don't want to watch me type that again.
Well, that would give you your prompt, too, I think.
Would it?
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
You might be right. All right, so I'm going into 4 to the default. I will do advanced data analysis just because that
I think it was already checked.
Was it? As your default?
Yeah.
Paste in that same thing
All
and
right.
hit send and see what it does. Yeah, see, this is what I liked. This is what it did last time. So it basically tells you what's going on.
Oh, it's still paragraph by paragraph, though,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it's
Do those numbers correspond to the numbers in the? They probably do.
probably.
Yeah, right. I'm sure they do.
So each one.
Huh? How cool is that?
Yeah. Give this to me in a 3. So I'm just going to ask it as a 3-paragraph summary.
That's interesting.
Maybe it'll just give me a quick.
Go ahead and click on. Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
it was still working. I didn't realize it was still carrying on. So yeah, this is what it gave me the first time that I really like. So it basically just gives it to you like, here's what's happened in July, August, and then current date. Mine actually had a little thing at the end where it was like, it looks like the next action is on December 7th. It's probably the motion to dismiss.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, nice 3, like you read through this and it basically just talks about who initiated the complaint, who was assigned to, and then the,
Very nice.
required entries for everything else. And what's pro hack vice? This is when somebody outside of the jurisdiction is going to represent or something. Is that how it works?
You know what? I don't really. It's been a while since I took my course in Latin.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what that is. But nevertheless. So, thanks for letting me get my tech tip in.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Hey, well, you know what? This signals the end of this is our 5th video in the ChatGPT series. So it's time to go down our list of announcements.
Yeah, this is what everybody's been waiting for.
I'm sure.
So I'll obviously remind everybody that we have a book out called ChatGPT in the Law, and it's a comprehensive guide to using ChatGPT in your law office or for your practice. You can order it from our landing page, ai.puritassprings.com. There's links on the website. You can also Google it or look it up on Amazon. ChatGPT in the Law, Guide to Law Offices.
Hey, it's available at the Amazon bookstore for $12.95 in digital format and $15.99 as a paperback. Now, if the things that Larry and I talk to you about, if they're interesting to you, or they make you happy, or even if they make you sad or angry, don't forget to like, share, and or subscribe to the Puritas Springs Software channel for more information about additional videos that Larry and I will publish or have already published.
Yeah.
We're happy to welcome new and old friends, and we'd love to have you along.
Right on. We're going to go over some of the new features in ChatGPT that didn't even exist when we wrote the book.
Right.
Maybe some updates on any of these cases that we find against OpenAI that we think are interesting.
Okay, so hey, remember, if you like us, we like you.
You're sticking with that, huh?
Well, yeah, all right. I might have said I wasn't going to say that anymore, but well, good or bad, I already said it. So until next time,
Very friendly.
yeah, stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye now.